Hello guys and welcome to my new video. Today I decided to have a look at the Battle for Azeroth Resto Shaman class changes. You have to keep in mind that this is a very early preview of where Blizzard is going with Resto Shamans, because Battle for Azeroth, the beta is not even out. It's going to be months and months, maybe half a year, maybe a year, hopefully not, before it's going to be released. So there's going to be a lot of spells being added, being removed, a lot of the modifiers, the percentages being changed and things like that. So this video is just to basically show you where Blizzard is going with the changes. How are they trying to fix or make the class better? There's a lot of different ways that Blizzard are trying to achieve class utility. They mentioned this in a blog post before, and you can see this through some of the changes that are already made to Resto Shamans. So there's been a lot of changes to spells, like you can see here that the healing rate, instead of 50%, it'll only be increased healing by 12.5%. A lot of things like that have been reduced. Overall, I think the spells or the heals in Battle for Azeroth are only 25% of what they are currently in Legion. So the amount you would heal from spells has been drastically reduced, but also the mana has been reduced a lot as well. So it's kind of like, you know, you'll be healing for less, but you will be using less mana. So this is kind of like, you know, stat squish. In Battle for Azeroth, there is going to be a stat squish. You're going to be healing for less, you're going to be doing less damage, because no one wants to see billion crits. Or maybe you do, maybe you want to see billion crits. But either way, these changes, like, they don't really affect you that much. You also saw things like, really weird actually, like healing surge, a quick surge of healing energy that restores usually 475 of spell power, now is 4000. It's like a set value. Usually that's probably a mistake. They're not gonna do set values for heals, because they want you to do, like, for example, a percentage based of your spell power. What that means is that once you get better gear, once you start collecting better gear, doing higher content, you'll see your healing increase. You'll see this progression of character. With set values, that doesn't happen. So that's not going to be in the final build. That's probably a mistake. So the first thing that I really wanted to cover was Chain Heal, because Chain Heal has seen probably the biggest change for healers actually for Battle for Azeroth in this build. So you can see heals a friendly target for a set amount, then jumps to heal the most injured nearby party or raid members. Healing is reduced by 30% after each jump. Heals 4 total targets instead of 3 total targets. So Chain Heal tooltip by itself is really weird. You'll be asking yourself, wait, my Chain Heal only used to heal 3%? Used to only heal 3 targets? No, because at level 54, your Chain Heal increases the amount of targets is being healed. So currently right now, your Resto Shaman will be healing 4 targets. And with the specific talent, with the High Tide, Chain Heal bounces to 1 additional target and its fall off with each bounce is reduced by half. You'll be healing 5 targets. And that's a very popular talent in raid scenarios, so you most likely will be healing 5 targets. Now, what's gonna happen in Battle for Azeroth is that you'll be healing 5 targets without the talent. So a lot of people have been saying that it's highly likely that High Tide is going to be removed. If it's not going to be removed, it might be like you'll be healing 6 targets, maybe 7 targets, maybe 8 targets with Chain Heal, who knows. But a lot of people saying because these changes kind of give you a baseline talent effect, that High Tide is going to be removed and going to be adding a more fun talent. Because right now, like, High Tide is, like, I mean, it doesn't really do anything. You still be chain healing, you won't see the effect of it at all. And Chain Heal also gives you an 8-second cooldown. Now this is really interesting, because Chain Heal was probably, I think, one of Resto Shamans had an AoE heal that did not have a cooldown, and not a lot of other healers have that. Like, for example, you have Mistweavers with Essence Font that unleashes a rapid twirl of Healing Bolt up to 6 target allies every 1 second for 3 seconds. So it kind of pulses 6 people at a time, and he has a 12-second cooldown. And Wild Growth heals up to 6 injured allies as Forest of Druids within 30 yards, 10-second cooldown. So it's only basically Resto Shaman, so it didn't have like a cooldown on the Chain Heal. Now you have to keep in mind that the Chain Heal bounce between the targets is a lot lower than other spells. I think it's between like 15 yards between each target. Like, you can cast it from 40 yards. You can cast the Chain Heal for 40 yards, but it doesn't have that big of a range between the targets to bounce off. So you kind of have to be really careful about using this in small groups, making sure that you probably heal the melee. It's gonna bounce off from everyone and the tank including. In 5-mans it's almost non-existent, so this won't affect 5-man healing at all, because you probably won't be chain healing anyways. Unless they're gonna change something. Hopefully they're gonna change something. But this 8-second cooldown reduction, people were panicking about this. They were like, oh my god, they're changing the meta. It kind of sucks, because for a lot of the scenarios in Untaurus, a lot of scenarios in raids, you get this burst damage, and if there's a lot of burst damage, you might be doing like 2 chain heals, maybe 3 chain heals in a row. Usually you won't be doing any more than that, unless, mana is an issue. Chain heal is quite mana intense spell, and if you're going to spam chain heal, you're going to run out of mana like that. So you'll be usually casting 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe chain heals at really bad case scenarios, and then you'll be getting tidal wave procs from that. With tidal wave charges, you'll be able to use healing surge or healing wave and be kind of, mana productive healer. So this 8-second cooldown is going to be like, okay, it sucks if there's continuous AoE damage, or it sucks if there's a lot of AoE burst damage coming in, and you would like to cast 2 or 3 chain heals, and then not cast chain heals at all because your mana. Right now you won't be able to do that with 8-second cooldown. It really isn't the end of the world. A lot of people won't be casting this a lot, and they won't be casting it just because of mana and things like that. Sometimes maybe the raid is small and you won't be casting chain heal at all. So, and this goes in line with what every other healer has: a cooldown on their AoE spell. Now, I feel that they could really change chain heal to work better in 5-mans. I really feel that the biggest downfall of Resto Shamans in terms of fun playstyle is in 5-man content, where your Riptide and Healing Surge, Healing Wave combo is probably the most prevalent in all of 5-man content, and chain heal is kind of down there. Healing Rain is not there, and it's all to do with grouping. I feel you should be rewarded for casting chain heal and for chain heal bouncing off between targets, because maybe you see your range moving towards your melee group, and then you're like, I'm gonna cast the chain heal on that range, and it's gonna hit the melee because I can see that range moving towards the melee camp, and you should be rewarded for that kind of game style, for being intuitive about the location of your other targets. And it's kind of fun. That was really fun for me before, and chain heal doesn't really do that at the moment. I would like to see a lot more changes to chain heal or talents that affect chain heal, and not high tide. I'm not sure if high tide is the most fun talent out there. Now, beside those changes, like I mentioned before, percentage based changes, there's nothing really crazy going on. Healing wave changes, mastery hasn't it hasn't been changed. Deep healing mastery itself increases the healing from your spells by up to 24% based on the current health of the target. I feel this is a really cool progression talent, but after you do progression, this becomes really kind of, people not taking enough damage. Do I get more mastery? Do I stack mastery in hopes that people fail, or in hopes there's more damage, people don't interrupt the right abilities in Argus, and there's loads of damage and mastery becomes better? Or in 5-man content, do I really want the person to drop down to 50, 40, 30% HP, and then I do the heal, so increase the mastery heal? It's fun at the start of progression, but then after that, it really loses appeal. The same extent, if you look at Resto Druids have a similar progression mastery. Your healing is increased based on the amount of HOTS you have on that target. So you can have as many HOTS as you want, like 3, 4, 5 HOTS on that target, and your healing is going to increase. Now, in order to have those HOTS, you're probably going to be wasting mana. But if you have the mana, you'll be doing it anyway. And it's great for progression, where people drop down low because there's talents that are going to add an additional HOT to that druid. For Shaman, I don't feel mastery has this synergy or interaction or playability or even fun. Like I mentioned, for progression, this is extremely fun talent to use. There's nothing better than casting a juicy chain heal on someone who's 10% HP in a melee camp, where your chain heal is going to bounce to 5 targets and is going to be an insane amount of healing. But then when you're doing farm content on 5-mans, this is it falls down. I feel that mastery should have a big rework for Resto Shamans. Give me ideas of what you like to be. What would you want the mastery to change to? Let me know, because I can't think of anything right now. These changes are not really relevant right now. It's actually funny to see. Actually, I'll show you the talent builds later on. It's funny to see also that Earth Shield is not, at least for right now, I know this is the honor part. Right now, Earthshield is not part of restoration talents, but it seems that elementals and enhancement shamans might get Earthshield as a talent. And I feel that Earthshield should really be part of Restoration Druid core abilities, because when I was playing Resto Shaman a few expansions back, Earthshield is super fun. It fits the whole playability, and especially in 5-mans, Resto Shamans really kind of need that tank cooldown ability. Right now, you know what you use as a tank cooldown ability? Your Spirit Link. If your tank's about to die, you'll Spirit Link them. You won't Earthshield them on it because you don't have it. I don't know why Blizzard is not giving Earthshield to Resto Shamans. I know a lot of people say it might make them overpowered, but I feel every healer out there needs to have some sort of tank cooldown for them, or at least available for them. And there is also the introduction of the Tremor Totem. Tremor Totem, a lot of people seen this before. They know what it's about. It's a 1-minute cooldown. It's going to remove fear, charm, or sleep effects. It can be very good. It's one of those abilities that's going to be class, you know. Resto Shaman is going to be great to bring, like, for those certain fights where they need a Tremor Totem or something. Like, it might be a reason why you would actually bring a Resto Shaman to those niche scenarios. And why not? Why not have some kind of a spec utility as well? I'm all for that. Like I mentioned before, Earthshield is most likely going to be given to Elemental Enhancement Shaman, which is kind of Earthcraft Totem is probably going to be only Resto Shaman only. Like, I mean, Earthcraft Totem by itself right now, it is niche talent. But most people, like for example, if I actually show the talent builds right now, let's look at the talent builds. So this is the Battle for Azeroth talent changes, and this is what you see currently. So right now, like, there's nothing changed except for Spirit Wolf. There's nothing changed with Spirit Wolf because Lightning Surge Totem, so that's your tier 45 talent, which everyone basically picks, has been changed to Capacitor Totem. It has been changed to Capacitor Totem instead of baseline. It's baseline given to Shamans. It summons a totem, target rotation, gathering electricity, and it stuns them after all enemies within 8 yards for, instead of 5 seconds, it'll be 3 seconds, and instead of 45-second cooldown, it'll be 1 minute cooldown. So it's a longer cooldown, but this is a really important change. Why? Because Blizzard said that they're going to be pruning the class utility that's available by different classes, and they specifically mentioned AoE stuns. They specifically didn't like the amount of classes that had AoE stuns, and it seems that Shamans will have an AoE stun with them, with this change, which is really important because I'm predicting a lot of other classes getting their AoE stuns removed. And Shaman having AoE stun is actually really important. It's going to increase the class utility or class viability in Battle for Azeroth. So it's actually a really welcome change, and I'm actually really happy about this to see for Resto Shamans. Now, like I mentioned before, Voodoo Totem has been removed. I don't even know what that is, like. But Spirit Wolf is the new talent. So if I go back to the different talent reviews, so you can see that Lightning Surge Totem has been removed, and tier 45 talent has been Spirit Wolf. While transformed into Ghost Wolf, you gain 5% increased movement speed and 5% damage reduction every 1 second, stacking up to 4 times. So you'll have around like 20% increased speed and 20% reduced damage, which is actually really nice. But it's very similar, like I mentioned before, it's very similar to what is available right now, Ghost in the Mist, which is an artifact ability. So you can say that an artifact ability became a talent, which I'm actually predicting to happen. I'm predicting like Gift to the Queen to actually become a talent, which is your artifact ability right now. I think that that's going to become a like tier. I'm not sure which tier, but it's going to be a talent choice. And Ghost in the Mist is like reduces all damage you take while Ghost Wolf is active by 1%, increasing by another 1% every 1 second, stacking up to 6 times and lasting 6 seconds. So it's one of those talents where you're like, you go into Ghost Wolf and you get so Spirit Wolf. First of all, it's one of those talents where if you when you go to Spirit Wolf, you know you need that increased movement, you know you need that increased damage reduction. A lot of people, what they do right now is Resto Shamans in 5-man content and raid content where they know they might not survive a big AoE or something like that. They'll go into Spirit Wolf and let that buff stack up, as well as Healing Stream Totem, which also gives you damage reduction. So that's your damage reduction spells that you have beside your personal. So Spirit Wolf, I mean, I'm quite happy to see that there's not that many changes besides that. Like if I go back to talent choices again, there really isn't anything that changed besides Spirit Wolf. And it's interesting to see that Resto Shaman still have Gust of the Wind, because Blizzard was removing a lot of like Displacer Beast. They were removing, like, increasing the cooldown on Paladin Horsey and things like that. So movement abilities were being either removed, outright removed, or either being increased in cooldown and just, you know, harder to use. So it's interesting to see the Gust of the Wind is still here. So that's of course really nice. On top of Gust of the Wind, you also have the Spirit Wolf, which provides a decent mobility to Resto Shamans, and that's actually pretty interesting to see. Now, if we actually look at the talents and things like that, so let me just close this off. If we actually look at the talent choices and which talents you feel should change, or which talents you feel should be removed. I went through the changes. Actually, there's one more change that I want to go before this. So this, I found this on MMO Champion. So this is really interesting. So the Bloodlust has been kind of changed. So it increases haste by 30%. It used to be like that. So now increases haste by 30% plus 25% of your spell power. So this means that basically Bloodlust becomes incredibly strong. It's going to scale Witcher gear. If that's going to go live, it's going to scale Witcher gear. And it's kind of one of those things where, like, you need Bloodlust or Heroism in your 5-man group or your raid. In raid, it's not going to be that hard because you're going to bring a mage or whatever, or a hunter or a shaman. But in 5-man content, it's like you need Heroism or Bloodlust, because that's going to be insane amount of DPS increase. And even if you look like right now, Drums of Fury, which increases the haste by 25%, a 5% loss, it's not that big of a deal. But if this is going to be like, if the spell power changes is going to go live, that 5% of haste, that 5% of spell power or whatever is going to be pretty big. And I see it as, like, again, Blizzard is going towards my class brings Heroism, Bloodlust. You need my class. So I'm not sure if that's going to go live, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting if they actually go with this change. So let's look at the talent builds for Resto Shamans right now. So my biggest concern in terms of the changes that happened to Resto Shamans, my biggest concern in terms of how it could be improved, is 5-man healing. I feel that 5-man healing is really unrewarded in terms of AoE heals that the Resto Shamans possess, Healing Rain, Chain Heal, and I really would like to see some, like, I mean, right now you see things like Bottomless Depths, which is, again, it's not really that used, and you also see things like Deluge, which is like Chain Heal, heals for an additional 20% on targets with your Healing Rain affected by, like, these are kind of niche talents. Even like things like Wellspring, like, I mean, these are not terrible talents, but they're a lot more niche than a lot of people would consider them to be mainstream. And most people will go with something like, you know, High Tide, they'll go with Cloudburst Totem, they'll go with either Earth and Shield Totem or Ancestral Vigor, maybe Ancestral Protection. Like, tier 75 talents are pretty good. Like, all of these are perfectly viable, and a lot of different shamans will go with any of those. Like with tier 60, you most likely will be going with Ancestral Guidance, but there is a chance you might be going with Crashing Waves, depending on what boss you're doing. Like, for example, like if you're doing like Coven of Shivaris, and like you don't really need like a cooldown, you just need more spot healing, Crashing Waves can be a really good talent. But in terms of tier 90, like most people go with Cloudburst, maybe with Echoes sometimes, depending, but not a lot of people go with Bottomless Depths, which is like, you know, mana regen. Resurgence always triggers when you heal a target below 60% health. Like, I mean, it doesn't sound that bad. Some people might use it in niche scenarios, but majority of the time it will be that build. And you'll see Wellsprings, again, being a very niche talent. A lot of people tend to use this like in things like Pearl Keeper, which is, there's still some kind of use to it, but it's not like 9 out of 10 times you'll most likely be going with High Tide. Maybe you'll be going with Ascendance if you hate High Tide and hate using Chain Heal. But in 5-man content, this changes completely. Like your whole build for 5-mans is completely gone. You can either go like Conjuration, Riptide, or like Riptide Torrent build. A lot of people, it depends on which one you're gonna go here. Of course, the Stone Totem, which is gonna change in BRF, in Battle for Azeroth. Then you probably go Crashing Waves. You probably go Ancestral Rigor, Earthent, or whatever. Like tier 75 is great. You can go with whatever talent in any scenarios. 5-man's raids. In tier 90, you most likely only will go Echo of the Elements. In tier 100, you probably will go with Ascendance, because these talents are like, ugh, in 5-man content. And even Ascendance is not the best talent, or it's not like super fun talent. It's just basically for Resto Shaman to be able to AoE heal. That's what Ascendance is basically right now. And in 5-man content, I feel there needs to be a lot, like I really want Chain Heal to be rewarded in 5-man content. I would love that to be weaved into the 5-man healer rotation as a Resto Shaman. I just really feel that the rotation of Resto Shaman in 5-man content should change in some way. Should be more fun. Please let it be more fun in Battle for Azeroth. So this has been my overview of the talents, overview of the changes that happened. Like the biggest change is the Chain Heal, which I'm not too crazy. Like it's kind of a nerf, but at the same time it's not like groundbreaking. It's not something, it's in line with other healers. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know how you feel about these changes as a Resto Shaman. Let me know what changes you want to see. What talent changes you want to see. Do you enjoy the 5-man healing? Maybe you enjoy the 5-man healing a lot. Maybe you enjoy the thing and you don't want anything to change. Let me know. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.